Welcome! You are watching Gravenhurst Public Library's Collection Connection. My name is Jennifer Whipp and I'm the Child and Youth Services Librarian here at Gravenhurst Public Library. This week I am talking to you about reluctant readers. Maybe you're someone who isn't particularly engaged in reading, you don't love it, or maybe you're the parent of someone who is reluctant to read and isn't super excited about it. So today I'm coming to you with some book recommendations, so some books that you can take out from right here at GPL that might be a little bit more exciting, interesting, and engaging for your reluctant reader. I'm also going to provide you with 8 tips about how to engage that reluctant reader in your life. Let's get started. So tip number 1 is to look for what we call high-low books, okay? High-low books are books that have high interest. They have exciting plots and characters. They're action-packed and interesting, right? They're gonna pique the interest and hold it, but they're low vocabulary, so they don't have crazy complex sentence structures, right? The vocabulary is low and accessible, so it's something that you can actually get through and feel quite accomplished about reading because it's still a full chapter book most of the time. So I would recommend looking for Orca books when you're looking for high lows. So there is Orca Echoes is an example of an Orca book. We have a lot of this Lark series, which are great. But there's also something called Orca Echo or Orca Anchors, as well as many other Orca categories. They're all high-lows that are targeted at different age groups. So the Orca Echoes is for ages about 7 to 9. Orca Anchors is for teens. We have a lot on order right now, so check those out and go to the Orca Publishing website and take a look at what those categories are and where your child would fall in terms of age range so that you can start to look for books that we have that are Orca books in that category. Tip number 2 is to look for books that are relatable for your child, for your reader. So you want books that have plot, emotions, characters, settings that your child or reluctant reader can relate to. So a great example of that is Dear Dumb Diary or even Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Really any kind of book that takes place in a setting that your child might be familiar with, that is gonna feel familiar and safe and comforting for them because it's something that maybe they're experiencing right now, or it has characters and settings that they may have experience with. So think about that when you're choosing a book for your reluctant reader. The next tip I want to talk about is formatting in your books. Pulling a chapter book off the shelf and asking your child or reluctant reader to tackle that can be quite overwhelming. So look for books that have accessible formatting. And what I mean by that is formatting that doesn't scare us away, formatting that's chunked, and maybe that comes in different varieties. So this book, to be honest, this is so awkward. It's part of the To Be Honest series. So I think we have 5 books in this series, something like that. Is a great example because it's broken into text messages, notes that are passed in class, diary entries, right? Blog posts. This book, so you can see here we have an email, we have a text message that's happening. What else can I show you? I mean, you can see like they even use emojis. So this book, if I were to pick it up off the shelf, isn't crazy intimidating, right? Because there's not a ton of text on each page. So it looks really achievable. It's not intimidating, it's something I could actually tackle. So that's something to keep in mind when you're choosing a book for your reluctant reader. Okay, my next tips, number 4 and number 5, I'm gonna use this book to demonstrate. So this is called Hero Dog. So you're gonna wanna look for books that have a simple plot, okay? That, this story develops in a very linear way that's not confusing. So you don't want flashbacks and changing character perspectives and things like that. You want it to be simple and concise all the way through. And sticking with that theme, tip number 5 would be to have simple sentence structures. So this one's a really great example. So I picked up a broken piece of pie dish. Zeus isn't a pie-stealing dog, I said. He's a hero. Maddie turned to me, hands on her hips. So you can see it's pretty simple, there's not run-on sentences, and the plot is actually supported with images all the way through. So it's very easy to tell exactly what's happening in this book from start to finish. All right, my next tip is that books are not the only option for your reluctant reader, right? You can also read ebooks, audiobooks, you can be reading comic books or graphic novels, nonfiction books, right? You can be reading magazines, the back of a cereal box, really anything. Reading is reading, guys. You can read newspaper, whatever you have at home. I think this book is kind of a fun example of reading is reading. It is definitely not laid out in a traditional book format by any means. It is filled with crazy fun, colorful pictures. It has dialogue. And I mean, sure, there's not a ton of text throughout this book, but reading is reading. And if this is the type of book that captures your reluctant reader, then run with it. Next, I want to remind you to give your reluctant reader agency in their choices, right? So give them choices, give them opportunities, do not limit them. Even if they're picking a book that is maybe a little bit too hard or a book that you wouldn't consider necessarily worthy, like if you're someone who doesn't value graphic novels quite as much as you do regular books, leave all that judgment at the door and really just let your reluctant reader pick what they want to read. Pick based on their interests, pick based on the art of the book, pick based on the topic of the book, right? Just give them the opportunity to be free in reading so that it doesn't become a chore. My final tip for dealing with reluctant readers and helping them to get engaged in reading is to lead by example. So you yourself, if you're not reading, how can you expect your kid to be reading? Am I right? So lead by example. Read yourself, read with your children, show them that it's fun, okay? And really just make it a family activity, integrate it into your routine so that it becomes easier for the whole family to commit to. So I'm going to end this collection connection video with 2 more recommendations for books, topics, type of things for your reluctant reader. So number 1 is awesome, friendly, spooky stories. So I would recommend something like this because they're short stories, right? So it doesn't matter if your child is reading the book from start to finish. It can feel a little bit more approachable and accessible if they only have to read 10 pages to have read a whole story, right? So it's a little bit more approachable for them. So something that chunks the story into pieces like this, into separate stories is great. I also love anything like this for children. So books that are choose your own ending. What's great about choose your own ending books? You don't have to read the whole book because you're choosing your own ending. So you're only reading your predetermined path. It supports that agency in reading, giving choices as you go, which is really fun. And because they are choose your own ending, they're often chunked, right? So you can see on this page is a great example. We're actually only reading 1 paragraph of text before we're being sent to our next location, to our next page number. So again, makes it really accessible and approachable. Well, everyone, this has been Gravenhurst Public Library's Collection Connection. I'll be back next week with another video and more recommendations. If you want help selecting books for your reluctant reader, you can always email me at jennifer.whip@gravenhurst.ca or call our friendly circulation staff at 705-687-3382 and we'll get that set up for you. Have an excellent week, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.